Mhm.
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 Another Thursday, another ThyGap podcast. Isn't that a nice feeling? Welcome, everyone, once again to the 8th episode of the ThyGap podcast. My name is Bogus Noog, and with me is my co host.
Being brute.
Wow, what a singy songy introduction. How you doing, Brut?
I'm doing the just amazing. I have had a lot of Red Bull and also I had 2-3 biryanis in the last 4 months, and it is very amazing. Yes.
Brilliant. I'm sure everyone was thankful for that extra piece of information. Good to be back with you guys for another episode. I'm sure you're happy as well. Did you guys know, by the way, that you could also follow us on social media? We are at ThyGap on Twitter. We are _ ThyGap on Instagram. And we also have a page on Facebook.
Yeah.
But following that second part of Humour episode, because it was such a long topic, such a huge topic, that I know that Brute and myself, we could just go on for days.
It's close. It's a topic close to our heart.
Close to our heart.
Yeah, we are invested in the whole pursuit of humor.
Yeah.
So you can expect more parts actually, because it's an incomplete conversation.
Yeah, and so basically, this was the time around when MTV and Channel V were getting a more Indian sort of presence and content. We were not just looking at the international channel anymore. We were seeing Indianized content and people, faces. And this was the time when Cyrus Broacha was coming up.
Oh my God! He's my God.
Well, yeah, and I want to go more into Cyrus, especially.
Don't go deep into Cyrus.
No.
He might not like it. Why are you always going into people?
No. Nothing that would bring him discomfort of any kind.
I apologize for misconstruing your meaning.
Yeah.
The statement, rather.
So, misconstruing. But, when that was happening, when Cyrus Broacha was coming up as a VJ, and I was a student, my situation was that I had just started looking into stand-up comedy and comedians. So I was just getting exposed to, George Carlin.
This was when you were in your 11th.
In my 10th, 11th. Not 10th, 11th standard. 11th, 12th standard. Because I was in a boys' hostel until my 10th. So I didn't really have that much of an exposure, into these things. So when I came out and I started learning about the whole art of stand-up comedy and these greats like George Carlin and Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle and all these people, Mitch Hedberg.
How did you watch this stuff back then? Like, what was your source? Was it you got them in TV channels? Like,
no, online.
You had internet back then?
Yeah.
How rich were you, dude?
What? I mean, internet, like everyone else had internet, like whatever the dial-up modem or whatever technology was going on in the beginning. That's about it, And that was pretty common, actually.
Sabko internet nahi tha, bogus.
No, I'm not saying sabko tha. I'm saying that was the time when I guess what drove it was in that household there were kids who were in school or in that age. So in some families it became a kind of thing where, okay, chalo, we'll get a computer because
they can play games and keep them busy. Then breaking things at home.
No, it's not just games. It's, even in the curriculum.
Those multimedia CDs that we used to get.
Yeah,
right?
Encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And in students' curriculum itself, it started out that you have programming languages.
That is when the whole hobby of reading died.
I think even before that it was not.
I think more or less.
Yeah.
But we're digressing like always. You're talking about Cyrus Broacha. I want to hear from you about Cyrus Broacha.
Yeah. So when Cyrus was coming up and about, he was so different. And he still is.
He still is.
Very different.
I was about to correct you.
Has a place for himself.
And his leagues apart.
And he's just so fast off the cuff.
Yeah.
And his brain works in weird ways. So I was like kind of taken aback by suddenly seeing a namuna of this kind,
Right.
Among the whatever else was available.
Right.
And around the same time, you had two other people coming up as video jockeys. That was Ranvir Shorey and Vinay Pathak.
Oh, I thought you would say Pranab Roy and that Tandon fellow from DD News.
Oh my God.
I thought that was the definition of VJs.
No. So yeah, Ranvir Shorey and Vinay Pathak, what immediately you could make out was, of course, they had really good chemistry. But they were very funny and they were very quick as well.
Yeah.
And for me, those kind of things happening in close proximity to each other, it led me to believe, and I think I'm not alone here, but it led me to believe that, holy shit, this whole thing is just taking off. Like
there's a bubble to burst out there.
Something just burst and these people came out of the woodwork. And if it's going to start with people like Cyrus Broacha and Ranvir and Vinay, then where is it going to go? Because I was still in my 11th standard. I thought by the time I get to the working age, after my education is done, by then it would have really, in terms of quality, in terms of quality, we could really have reached the next level.
Right.
Because the reason why I mentioned I was catching up with Western contemporary comics, or the greats of past as well, like Carlin. I was just getting exposed to all of that. Simultaneously, I was seeing something in the Indian context that was not just an imitation.
Yeah, it was like raw original,
and it was Indianized.
Right.
It was coming not as a completely inspired or
it's not a ripoff,
influenced thing like a ripoff.
Yeah,
it's not like that, because
and I get that also, right? I'm sorry I'm butting in because you're boring me.
Yeah, go ahead.
At that point, right, there were too many TV comedy shows also otherwise, right, which were like a direct ripoff of Western comedy shows. Like Zaban Sawal Ke was a direct ripoff of Mind Your Language. Yes, Prime Minister was a Prime Minister G, or Farooq Sheikh and another person who used to come. And then you had quite a few which actually kind of like a direct replication.
Yeah.
And I get that, because I was exposed to these guys probably at the fag end of when they were VJing, right? Cyrus, I was more of the Nikhil Shinappa, the Shanaz, Cyrus Saukar, right? Those guys. And also we are all pretty, we are all aware of the whole MTV V channel rivalry, right?
Yeah.
They were always trying to get one guy better than the other, getting more eyeballs, blah, blah, blah. So I understand that yes, Cyrus made, for me, by the way, I didn't explain this, but for me, even till date, probably one of the best comic minds that India has is Cyrus Broacha. Undoubtedly.
Improvisational, yeah.
Improvisational, on the spot, conversational comedy, situational comedy. His, like you said, the speed at which he comes at you, it completely takes you aback, right? And a shout out to Cyrus ka podcast also. He has a podcast been going on for quite some time.
We are shouting out his podcast.
He should. It's like we scratch his back, he scratch our back, right? So hopefully at some point he will. He might also give us a shout out.
That guy's back is so huge. If you scratch it, I don't think
that's why it takes two people to scratch his complete back.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, coming back, for me, Cyrus was one of the first Indian guys who kind of showed that, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can do VJing, you can do hosting, you can do like a bunch of things. And for me, Vinay Pathak and Ranvir Shorey are more of actors for me.
Okay.
More than the VJs, because I didn't probably see a lot of VJing of those guys.
Yeah.
I saw it in glimpses, but I didn't understand
by
VJing so much.
By the time you started watching it, they were already out.
Or they were phasing out, probably. Right? But I did watch their sketches. The sketches that only both of them used to do. And some of the, the guest artists were, Suresh Menon was one who would frequently come. Then there was Saurabh Shukla, who probably would jump in once in a while. And there were a few others who I can remember faces, but I can't figure out the name. But yeah, I remember them as doing sketches, right?
Yeah, I think the sketch show was called The Great Indian Comedy Show. I know the name, but I have not watched it actually. So I need to go back and check it out because I think it would be good. Like the names that you just threw.
Oh, they're very funny, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, again, see, it is like the raw comedy, right? Like, which you didn't expect. And see, my understanding of comedy back then was either the old Telugu movies, which was where, there are veterans who would, perform comedy.
Yeah.
Or it was the Johnny Livers, right?
Right.
Who at the peak, I don't remember anybody on par with Johnny Liver as a comic actor. You all probably had a Kadir Khan, we probably had a Govinda, who was a hero, but they were not comic characters in itself, right? Even in movies like Bazigar, which is supposed to be this suspense thriller movie, you only had Johnny Liver as a comic relief.
Yeah.
Right? And he does a great job, by the way. But yeah, I'm digressing as usual.
So, Cyrus, when that was happening, I thought this shit was blowing off and it was going to hit the roof by the time I come to employable age. And I was really encouraged by what I saw because I thought it was going to take longer, actually, to be very frank. I thought, okay, we just got exposed to these channels like Star TV, BBC, all these things were just starting out because cable TV was...
Right. It was new for us.
Just starting
It was
out.
only DD and DD Metro.
No one had watched Friends at that point of time. So all that was going to come down the line. And when I was getting exposed to all these great comedians from the US and UK, etc., seeing something similar just pop off so fast, and it's not trying to be something, it is just its own original thing, and it is funny and it is Indian. It was really encouraging. But then what happened is they left the scene and
they left us like orphan childs of comedy.
It just, and it's not just those guys, those are just examples, by the way. I don't want anyone thinking that, okay, we think these are the only ones. No. We're just picking 3 examples of other people also who are similar, who had a similar effect, is when for some reason they left the scene to do other things. It created such a lull that we haven't been able to coop up.
It was like Calvin and Hobbes stopping, like the creator of Calvin and Hobbes.
Bill Watterson.
Yeah, Bill Watterson. Like he stopped making Calvin and Hobbes anymore. Right. And then I remember a quote from one of the newspapers
I think
where
we'd be exaggerating a little bit too much to compare these guys.
No, it's a distant analogy.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to compare it with how one of the newspapers kind of described that, right? Where they stopped printing Calvin and Hobbes in the paper. The exact quote, if I am not wrong, is, "It has created a void which can never be filled." When they stopped printing that illustration.
That is true because it's something like Calvin and Hobbes. It is such a high quality thing.
Yeah.
This is not as high, but it was very good for the time that it came out, the timing.
Right.
And the year or the time frame. You guys understand what I mean.
It was the start of a generation,
and it started so strongly.
Yeah, it started they took all the right steps.
Yeah,
right?
It started strong, it started original, it showed real promise, and it was encouraging. But then what happened, God only knows, like there was a lull, and now
there still is.
Not only has the quality not been able to match up to that, but it's also gone in a completely different direction altogether. And for some reason, that language or that communication or the way jokes were communicated earlier back then, it is so different to what we're observing now. And now what I observe is, because also a factor, it could be that it is still in the infancy, the comedy, the stand-up circuit, and at least when it was in the infancy, there was a lot of comedians doing that tag or the callback. Like one guy came and did a good callback.
Everybody goes back.
Everybody is like, okay, starting off my act, I'm going to mention something like chudiyan or banana or whatever. Yeah. End of the thing, there are literally video clips where stand-up comics mention the same word, and they're looking at the audience, they're raising their eyebrows and like, and they're actually waiting for applause. And then people are like, oh, he said the same word, bro, let's clap for this shit. It's so funny. It's like, that's not...
But also,
that's what happens, yeah.
What we also have to take into consideration is, in the due course of time, right?
Yeah.
the whole concept of VJing died,
Yeah.
right? In the sense, the whole concept of talk show kind of took over. It was no more like VJing.
Excuse me.
It was no more like VJing, right? I mean, who was the last VJ that you remember who's actually as popular or who got some eyeballs? I can't think of anybody beyond Jose. And Jose also came in when the whole music channels were dying out.
Yeah, I mean...
Like V channel became like some soap opera Star Plus or something.
The music channels are no longer music channels.
Yes.
So that's why we just went out the window. And which is okay, it's fine. But as long as they get to do that elsewhere in their own medium. But that never happened, That's one bone I've always had to pick with Cyrus, which you disagreed with. Which I also agree with that. Which initially...
So what is the disagreement here?
Okay.
The agreement to disagree or what
No, I'm getting to that. So initially, one of my bones that I had to pick with Cyrus was that he never got into stand-up. But it took me a while to understand.
He shouldn't.
Exactly.
He doesn't have to.
I agree. It took me a while to understand, okay, this is not really his thing. He's not in that,
His stand-up shows would have gotten the same complaint that we are getting as a podcast host, right?
Oh, yeah.
They will be like, why is this stand-up show so long? Why is it like 3 hours? Because Cyrus has the ability to like rip off on like, even if he has an audience of just 3 people, right? I feel he's got this incredible ability to like just keep ripping them off for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, so that invalidates my grouse because I agree now. I see why no stand-up and I don't want any more stand-up from him. I don't even want him to try. But the current grouse that I have with him is about his podcast. I've heard a few episodes of his podcast and it's just Cyrus being Cyrus, which is always good.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
But for the life of me, I could never understand. And this podcast that he has, a lot of people do listen to it. And it is in the 500 episodes that's going on. I mean, it's in the 500s. He has done more than 500 episodes of this podcast. How the hell or why the hell did they not do a video podcast?
Spoken English classes, keep attending them properly. Bogus.
Yeah, I mean...
Make some sentences that make sense.
I mean, usually if you sit down to talk for a while, it's bound to happen. It's like I said, it's not a first language. Who gives a fuck, So, why the hell they never did a video podcast? Or why are they not doing it now? Like, it doesn't take a lot to take a corner of a room because that's what the rich LA comedians are doing, which is so ridiculous, which is they take one corner of a room and, they just paint this side of something, this side of something.
I'm sure he does video podcasts. Let me just...
I don't think so, dude.
Keep engaging the audience. I'll just make a quick check.
Yeah. Because even if he does a video podcast, because I saw one episode like that. The video quality was bad. The positioning was bad. It was just the lighting was not good. So I don't understand, because it is Cyrus Broacha, Like, and if you say he's funny, if you say he has a thing, like his strength, I mean, look at podcasts because the medium was just made for him, I think.
Well, okay. The 2 things, I'll counter that with 2 things.
Sure.
Okay? 2 of my understanding. First of all, we don't know at what priority Cyrus has his podcast at. Okay? It might be an afterthought. He has the week that wasn't. Okay? Mm-hmm. He has his whole corporate hosting shows that he does. Mm-hmm. Right? And let's be honest, there is economics attached to it. So which gives him the best money? Which is his cash cow? We don't know. Correct? So that part I would not comment of why he is not focusing more on podcast, whereas he can.
He is clearly focusing on it because he's done more than 500 episodes, dude.
Yeah, so it can be an afterthought. You see how long the week that wasn't has been going on?
It's a clear revenue stream.
Right. So the podcast might be something that is his, that's his way of fulfilling what he wants to voice out.
But you see the stand-up comedians, a few of them of today,
Please do not put them on the same comparison.
It's not, I'm not even comparing. How do you know I'm
Don't get angry with me. I can also get angry, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you know where I'm going before I even go there?
Because I'm distant relative of Nostradamus.
Yeah. So what I was saying was the stand-up comedians of today, right? They just put a regular DSLR camera on a tripod stand. You just turn it on the camera. The quality is great. It costs nothing. Now the thing is, wait.
Okay, finish.
Output, I'm saying. It costs nothing to get that output. And also, if you have, it's not that he has to sit and edit it himself. You know, there's people helping the podcast in its current form. So obviously someone can help with the editing and output of that in its current form. And all you have to do is just make sure the lighting is good and it looks decent. And that's about it. Just if you keep, that's how Joe Rogan's podcast got so big. It got big after like 400, 500 or 600 episodes. You know, it took for that to get big. And this is Cyrus we're talking about. I think podcast as a medium is made for him. If he just goes into it, you know, revenue stream will start, like how Joe Rogan now is making money with podcasts so much. We have the numbers in terms of audience. So if you get the audience, it will go, you know, sponsorships will come. And because end of the day, we know it's Cyrus, you know. I'm only saying it because of that. Because it is Cyrus at the end of the day. I mean, he's the king for this medium, I feel.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing. As a South India Fans Association president of Cyrus Broacha, I take offense on his behalf for the fact that you are giving him tips.
I'm not,
okay.
I'm not giving
No,
tips.
no, let me complete. Hello. I gave you time to speak, no? I wasted 7 minutes of my time listening to you. Okay. That is number one. Number two, okay, now because you're going into the behavioral science or the capability science of what Cyrus Broacha is, you're talking about a guy, okay, who comes in his shorts and t-shirts, who's not worried about what his output is, who's purely showcasing his intelligence or his capability. Let's not even go deep as intelligence, his capability. Why is it so hard for you to believe that maybe he's not doing it for the economics of it or revenue stream of it, but he's doing it as a thing where he can vent out? It's like, and he just wants to share it out. It's as simple as that. Why can't it be that simple thing for you? That's like the first part of it. Now, the second part of it that I was telling, which was the second point, is, you know, he might be Jon Snow. He might be the guy who doesn't, you know, he might be good at something, but maybe that is not something that he wants to do. So he's doing sketch writing. So he's doing, you know, the week that wasn't, or hosting, or whatever it is. Because in podcast, there are challenges. Let's be honest, right? There are challenges. There are no takers in the first place, right? And Cyrus Broacha, unfortunately, is probably, from whoever I've spoken to, right? He doesn't come in the top 100 list of favorite comics of India, of the Indian audience, which is a sad state of affairs. People don't know Cyrus Broacha.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That's my point.
Yeah, so maybe he knows his niche. He knows his audience. And he's not worried. He's not playing the game of the stand-up comedians who are aiming for like 15 million views or 20 million views and all. He's playing a different game altogether.
Okay.
That's my take, right? I mean, that's how I understand him. And I get it. I get it that he's playing it for himself. He's not there in any competition. He's not... He doesn't need to be in a race. He's done it all. He's set the platform for all these idiots to like, no, sorry, not idiots, like nincompoops to like basically perform, right? I'm not taking anything away from the contemporary stand-ups, but I'm saying maybe stand-up in itself or podcast or any medium, when you are at the level of Cyrus, right, you have the command to choose how you want to go about stuff. So yes, you might want to see him in a different... It's like asking, why doesn't Shah Rukh Khan do like a horror movie?
Yeah, no, I don't want anything from Shah Rukh Khan.
But, no, I'm saying, if one fan of Shah Rukh Khan who has a complaint that Shah Rukh Khan doesn't do horror movies, he has to do horror movies. Why does it matter? It's your will and wish that you want to see a person in a certain way because you think that he's good at it. What about that person in itself? His consideration. His has his own choice.
Matters the most.
Yeah, so his choice...
There's no arguing against... I'm not arguing against that.
So his choice is clear. His choice is podcast is... This is where maybe... And see, even I'm not putting my money on it. But if Cyrus can answer, Cyrus Broacha, if you can help us out in clearing this debate, why don't you make video podcast for the sake of this idiot Bogus Nook to understand where you come from? If you can just, comment or DM us on at ThyGap on at _ThyGap on Instagram, or probably tweet us at ThyGap. We will be very happy. True story.
Should ask him to follow also. Why did he stop there?
No, it's too big. He's too busy, bro.
Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying, but it's a different example in this case because we're talking about someone who has done 500 episodes, more than 500 episodes of a podcast, which means what I want to infer from that is at least he must be having fun doing it, right?
And he might be only looking at the fun aspect.
Okay, fine. If you're having fun doing it, it's great. But what is the argument against monetizing what you're having fun doing? And you're really good at it, and you're doing it already, and it doesn't cost that much to really get the output. And I get that as a person, he doesn't worry about certain things, and that should not change. But he's at a stage where he can worry
about those things.
No, he can have other people worry about it for him. He doesn't have to worry about that.
But it is him.
Let someone else take care of it.
Fair enough. This conversation will never end.
The overall intent of what I was saying about all of this was more of it's feedback from, I guess, one fan. And I think I have a feeling that I'm not alone. Not about the whole podcast thing, but about how we felt when we first saw these guys pop up into the scene.
Then explain me this.
And then how it changed after that.
Okay, explain me this. Why do you think Ranvir, Shorey, or for the matter of fact, Vinay Pathak, didn't come into the stand-up gig? Didn't continue the sketch comedy?
See, again, regarding that, I have no arguments. Because I already said I agreed with Cyrus and stand-up.
So it's a choice.
I agree it's a choice, dude. Cyrus and stand-up is not even a point now. I already said I agreed.
Okay, then explain me Ranvir, Shorey and Vinay Pathak.
Well, Ranvir, Shorey and Vinay Pathak, I was not thinking along these lines when it came to these guys, because I was just thinking of how interesting their graph has been. That they started out as these VJs who were obviously good at what they did, and they knew how to
great at what they did. In fact,
they knew how to put out a good show, and they knew how to really entertain their audience. But from there they go on to become really good actors, like from out of left field. It's just they start acting, they get opportunities to act as leading men in movies, even though they were smaller budget or whatever, but they showed how good of actors they are, like how good actors.
Then why didn't they become mainstream commercial actors?
Well, that's obviously again, it's a niche thing. What the content, there was not that much push behind it. That's again how Bollywood functions, but it's different. But I just was thinking like how amazing it is that these two guys who started up showing themselves as being really good at comedy, and then they leave that and they show themselves now to be really good actors. And really like some of their work, like Ranvir Shorey's work in Mithya and Vinay Pathak's work in Manorama 6 Feet Under, it just stands out for me because I don't think I can get that same thing anywhere else. So
I no argument on that. I think see, this also goes back to that point where people who have a good comic sense, right? They have a very good understanding of the dark side. You like it or not?
Emotionality, or
the finer aspects of human behavior, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it was told by Dave Chappelle, where he says that comics have this need to go that place, right?
Yeah.
To make them more immune to the darker aspects of people or life, so that they can neutralize it and make fun of it. Right. So, and hey, adding to being comic, adding to be good comics. All three of them that you mentioned, that is Cyrus, Ranvir, Vinay, all three of them are great readers. They're big readers. They have a very good command on literature in general. Their roots are super strong, right? And all this, when you put it in one shell, right, it makes them capable of a lot more things than a normal guy who's focusing only on acting would be capable of. Right? Like, for instance, I think it was in Bheja Fry, or there was another movie, I keep forgetting that. It was a movie where Vinay Pathak and Lara Datta are traveling.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
They're in the riots and all
yeah.
things keep going on.
Yeah.
And Lara Datta is relatively, at that point, she did pretty well till that sense. I mean, she did decent movies or whatever.
I mean, she
was commercially viable. That's how I'd probably put it.
She was always decent.
Yeah, she was a decent actress.
It never broke the illusion. Like, it was not a horrifying, like, Selena Jaitley effect.
Yeah, it was not like Tanushri Datta kind of scene, right? Yeah. So she was commercially viable. Let's speak the movie language. And then there is Vinay Pathak right beside her, who kind of overshadows, like, in leaps and bounds, right?
Yeah.
And then Akshay Kumar comes. And even though generally, if an Akshay Kumar is doing a guest appearance, you're like, oh, Akshay Kumar came, wow. Yeah. But you're like, we want Vinay on the screen, right? So that kind of show, for me, those are the things where I feel, oh, dude, okay, there is so much to learn from them. Same thing is with a lot of other actors like Arshad Varsi or say Saurabh Shukla, right? All these guys who primarily were not actors per se. Arshad Varsi started off as a choreographer, right? Saurabh Shukla was essentially a screenwriter or script writer.
Writer. Playwright, I think.
Playwright. He was the co-writer for Satya also, by the way.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So they were not mainstream actors, but the fact that they're that much more smarter, or they have that much more stronger roots with literature and comedy, or these kind of the finer aspects of human behavior and all, right? They end up becoming much more bigger than their surroundings, right? And the reason why I'm telling is because the same kind of thought that you have about Cyrus, I always had that thought with respect to Ranvir, Shorey, Vinay Pathak, Rajat Kapoor, all these guys, right?
Yeah.
I used to think like, okay, why are these guys not doing more movies? Like, I want to see them more.
Oh,
right?
In their case, in that whole group of Rajat Kapoor and Ranvir Shorey, Vinay Pathak, Neha Dhupia, Saurabh Shukla.
Neha Dhupia?
Yeah, Neha Dhupia.
Did you just say Neha Dhupia in the same line of Ranvir Shorey?
That was their group, dude.
Oh, is it? I'm not sure.
Oh, they always work together.
Oh,
so, yeah. So
how did she must be the bad egg in the lot?
No, I think maybe as a person she gets attracted more to this sort of sensibility, the kind of movies they make.
Okay.
So I think that's why she associates. So probably, but she was always in the group, basically. So what I felt when I watched this group coming out with movies like Bheja Fry or, these Mithya and all these movies, it was clear that it was not easy for them. Like, they're struggling, they're pulling their teeth through this thing.
Right.
Because the whole atmosphere over there is not really conducive to the content that these guys want to put out.
Right.
So it kind of was apparent for me from beginning that these guys are kind of struggling through this.
Right.
And so I never felt like why are they not making more movies? Rather, I was like, thank God they're able to make movies, and
at least some movies.
Oh yeah, thank God I'm able to see Khosla Ka Ghosla or Mithya.
Which movie was it where Rajat Kapoor was trying to crowdfund the movie?
I think I don't know the name.
You funded that movie also,
yeah,
right?
I donated to that.
Yeah,
because I wanted to help.
Funded in the sense, not like you became the financer and like.
Yeah, he was crowdfunding.
Shooting Rajat.
Yeah, he was crowdfunding for it.
Yeah,
and so I kind of chipped in, but I don't think that movie came out yet. Obviously, because it's not a cakewalk for these guys.
Yeah.
It's extremely uphill.
Yeah,
but what you said about Dave Chappelle, what he said about comedians have to go to that place.
Yeah.
It is really connecting to the art or the process of creation itself or creativity, where if you're a comic or you're a painter or you're writing a script or a screenplay,
or you're a podcast host,
or you're a podcast, I mean, not really that much of a podcast, but
put it in, let's take the credit.
But it's more like you have to dig deep and you have to reach a place which is gray, or it is the dark underground kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where things are slightly undefined and they are vague, and you kind of have to poke around in the dark and
it's a risky job, right? You might never come back.
I mean, that depends on where you go and how deep you're going into it. But
I mean, if you've been there long enough,
yeah.
all the great comics.
Yeah, so one example that they use to describe that is if you're in a house, imagine your brain as a house. There's different rooms for different purposes, but you also have a cellar.
And you go there
where it's dark.
Right.
Yeah, and so when you want to get something new, you have to take that effort to go to that out of your comfort zone because the cellar, let's imagine, is dark.
And cold and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, and so it's uncertain, basically. So you have to go into that and then you have to poke around. And with some effort, you probably will get something new. And then when you come back up, you are a different person because you keep doing that. Basically, if you have to keep evolving or keep growing, you have to keep going to that spot where things are still uncertain about you as a person. You don't know where exactly you stand on something. So you have to test yourself out. And so it's basically, that's what Dave Chappelle was connecting. And it connects to all, I think, creative endeavors. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I feel that's also one of the reasons that if somebody is in the creative field, right, the best thing to do is appreciate the effort. You know?
Yeah.
Not to like, say, it's okay not to like them.
Can I just say, I would change it to welcome the effort.
Yeah, like acknowledge. Okay, whatever word, I don't care.
No, because
multiple words.
When you're starting out, right, a lot of us start out with the future end product in vision.
Right.
And we kind of want to get to it as soon as
we don't see the obvious next step. Yeah, that happens. True. So, you can say that, welcome the effort. Like, that's the best thing that can be done.
Yeah.
And so if because that's all they are anticipating, right? Any stand-up or any actor or anybody, right? Who they just want people to like, okay, fine, are you even seeing me? They just want that eyeballs.
Yeah.
Because end of the day,
attention, right?
Yeah. All these guys, their drug is that whole, like even for me and you.
Yeah.
The fact that we go on stage and do theater or do a play or whatever, for me, it doesn't matter how long I'm there on the stage. I just want to be on the stage enough that I get like, okay, fine, there are 4 people who looked at me and like clapped or laughed or whatever. And then I'm happy. I'm good to go.
You got that instant feedback for
and that's
something that you were noodling in your head.
Yeah. It's like, it's a validation, right?
Yeah.
Of, hey, will I ever be noticed? Or will people even like this version of me or etc. etc. So for me, it is very important to understand the intent of why a person performs whatever he performs. Okay. For example, this is a conversation we had off the mic where you will know few people who are into stand-up comedy who are just there for the fame.
Yeah.
Or an actor or a singer or whosoever.
Just
right?
attention.
Not just they just need that fame. It's not about perfecting the art. Yeah, it's not about the craft.
Yeah.
They see that as a source of becoming famous or becoming popular, whatever it is. That is their end goal. And if they do it, great, right?
Yeah.
But if you are a keen student of that craft, right, you will not see class in it, or you
won't watch it, basically,
right? You might not be that person's audience.
Yeah.
Let us put it this way.
Yeah.
So it's the intent that matters for me. Now, what is the intent of a Cyrus to start a podcast? Until and unless I don't understand that, okay, I would not know on what scale, or at what scale he's looking at the podcast, or how is he actually approaching the podcast. And the same thing goes with the foundation of how they started it off.
I agree with the logic, but then, and these questions, I agree that you don't know, so they are uncertain. Yes, but what are the other things that we're going to see? The other things are, this is a podcast that's been going on for 500 episodes or more.
Yeah.
There's so many podcasts which have started and they've just gone because they couldn't keep up with it.
Correct.
So it has lasted quite long. And the other factor is that as a performer, basically, when you want to put it out there for someone to consume and react to and respond to, you always are thinking it needs to reach more people, obviously, right? You want it to reach more people. So there is a way where it can really reach a lot more people, but that way is not being taken, which is what is inexplicable.
We don't know if he's taken it or not taken it. That's what I'm saying.
I can see it. I mean, in the output, it's not being taken,
I don't know. I don't know how you're evaluating the output.
Because I think
If you're evaluating the output on aesthetics of how it looks,
Mhm.
now that is subjective according to me.
it's not about how it looks. It's about how it is being presented. Like how people are able to consume it. And I think this connects to a very peculiar and interesting thing about
I
us
always connect
as
peculiar
people.
to interesting things.
Yeah, but I'm the one doing the connecting. So,
Bogus.
So
Taking free credit for no reason is not the way to win an argument, okay?
see, first of all, the presence of an argument, the presence of winner, loser, all this is what you're bringing into it, by the way. I'm not bringing into it at all.
Because I'm a
For me,
competitive
it's-
guy.
Yeah, you are. And it's not a competition.
And you started off this podcast by offending my
not
God.
Always
My-
competition, Bringing this down to the Cyrus topic again, bringing it around, is like you mentioned that audience gave us feedback, that we talked about it, the feedback about length and all that.
Yeah,
And
I remember I was there.
would we not cut it down? And we have discussed off camera that we will down the line be putting up clips on YouTube. Once we start putting out video
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
we'll make individual small clips,
Right.
and also we'll leave the whole thing out there.
Correct.
So it's more like it is not this or that, but it is everything.
Right.
You consume it how you want to consume it. I just want to give you as many options
Right.
for your convenience.
Right.
This is what I need, or I
Which
was
is
looking
where-
out from Cyrus.
Yeah. Which is where is my difference of opinion.
Sure, go ahead.
Now, the difference is that is our intent.
That's our
That we
intent.
make it consumed by as many as possible.
But would it be your intent to release a podcast that goes on for 500 episodes and still you have the desire that this should not reach many people? Like this
It's not about not reaching many people.
then
Maybe it is about, I just want, whoever gets connected to it organically. That's all who I want.
right.
Right? Like I said, if we don't know the intent behind it, it's all we're just drawing clouds in the sky, right?
No, yeah, I'm not saying this is it. Like
No,
what
I know
think is
what
the way.
I'm just trying to explain
Yeah.
or probably try to put connect one thing to another.
Right.
It boils down to intent, especially in this form of art or any creative form, right? Like if you ask why does Picasso draw faces in that way, like why can't he paint like a proper face? He can do it. We don't know why he did that. Like his paintings are absurd. Like eye is going one way, ear is going one way, and they get sold for millions of dollars, right?
But Picasso is also one of the most commercially successful artists
Exactly what
ever
I'm saying.
to have lived.
So he might have marketed in a different way. For all we care, Cyrus might be richer than any of these guys.
No, it's
If
not.
we are talking about commercial if you're valuing it at commercial value.
But that's the thing. It's not just about him. Currently he has a team of people who work with him for that podcast.
So you're like, give them more job. Is that
Not
what
give
you're
them more job. It's like scale it up. There is prosperity there. There is potential.
I agree, Bogus. Bogus,
there's
my
promise
point
of
is,
prosperity.
we do not know his intent of doing the podcast. Let it go for 3,000 episodes. I don't care.
I agree.
If his intent is to just make sure that whoever wants to reach to my podcast, okay, whoever is actually figuring out, like for example, you and me,
right.
how do we know about Cyrus podcast if he never marketed it? Because we go behind him, right? We try to follow that. At least I follow him aggressively. And if I'm not wrong, I told you that he also has a podcast.
I don't remember.
IVM podcast, like he has a partnership with IVM and like etc. etc. So I was like, hey, because he has a podcast and he called some people. Like he called some really contemporary. He had Biswa on his podcast. He has movie stars coming to his podcast.
Of course, he has a network.
All kinds of things, right? So for him, for all I know, he might be looking at his podcast as a modern radio where he doesn't need to market it. And how many radio jockeys do you know today? It's hardly a handful of radio jockeys.
My guess is inertia. That's my guess. Your guess is we don't know you didn't really make a guess. You just said we don't know.
I don't make guesses with Cyrus.
Which is one of the most obvious things you could think of. Like, of course, we don't know his intent.
Yeah.
So you didn't really make.
Well, your guess is inertia for what?
Inertia of just not changing. It's the Nokia thing, dude. Like not changing.
So how is it hurting him? It's not hurting him.
I think it is. I think there's a lot more there in terms of because we think that it's just the difference between more money and less money, but it's not that. It's the difference between how much or how easily you can think up ideas and realize them, because you have more resources now with you. You can really take it up, and that can become a hub for other people to,
follow the suit.
Not just follow, but grow themselves. Like
Okay.
what happened with The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Right.
How many people got
Right.
their careers because of that show? He allowed that to happen.
Okay.
So I'm just saying there is so much scope there and so much promise there, because honestly, Cyrus is world standard, right?
Yeah.
Podcast host. It's not a compromise in
You
any.
give him a mic, he's
Exactly.
like the top
It
class.
is not a compromise in any way of shape or form,
Right.
except his shape or form.
Right.
That's the only compromise there. But
You're going to a sensitive nerve,
no,
Bogus.
what is he going to be faced by all this nonsense? No way. Yeah, like
He's not going to be faced, but you know how fans work, right? We get faced.
I mean, if you're fans of Cyrus Broacha, then I have some amount of faith and confidence in their, a sense of humor.
Appreciation of humor.
Just humor, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm fine with that. That's why. But yeah, it's just, I just see that it could really blow up, and it's not blowing up. And I don't want to take names, but I see good quality outputs from some people, their podcast, which can't even call it a podcast really. It's like some 15 minutes, or I don't know what they're thinking they're calling. And they're saying season. Season 2 of episode 4 of my podcast is 18 minutes long. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But-
yeah,
that's
on the other hand, we have Cyrus who has the raw thing. He has the foundation.
No, let's hope that we at some point we meet Cyrus Broacha and we can have this conversation across the table and probably get to get in his mind and understand, or not get in his mind. We're not psychologists or anything, but as
I'm just curious.
yeah, let's
how come?
let's address a curiosity rather.
Yeah, because I want, of course, only good things.
Yeah. No, he deserves.
Only good things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And so does Vinay Pathak. And who's your favorite between Ranvir, Shorey and Vinay Pathak?
see, again, I like both. I
Right?
can't pick one.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
And the thing about Vinay Pathak is, I think, all-rounded, he is a really good actor. Ranvir Shorey, what I noticed is he peaks in one specific area.
He's more volatile, right?
No,
Like-
I mean, I've also watched a song sequence
Huh.
where Ranvir Shorey is the hero
Huh,
and he is participating
huh.
in a song sequence. And the less we say about that, the better. But that is where the illusion broke for me. But when a character has to show pain, right? I don't know why, but this guy, when the character has to show pain or communicate conflict, like internal, agony,
Yeah.
this guy just kills it, dude. I mean, Mithya is one example for me, and also the recent Netflix show Hasmukh,
Yeah.
where he plays a character called Jimmy,
Huh.
and
This is Veer Das ka thing, na?
Veer Das ka thing,
Yeah.
where he plays Jimmy, who is Hasmukh's manager.
Manager. I know. And he encourages.
He's
him to
trying to,
be,
get him gigs, and he's
yeah.
trying to. So even when he finds out he has a homicidal
angle to
this
him.
thing,
Yeah.
he arranges for that. Like,
Yeah.
he participates and he makes it happen because
Right.
he needs to. My comedian has to get his mojo
Huh.
for his show.
Right.
So that's the angle, and he's the manager he's the cleanup guy.
Right.
So he's actually doing a lot of hard work in the background,
Yeah.
and he's holding on to a lot of things by himself.
Yeah.
Because from the protagonist's angle,
Huh.
it becomes like kya yaar, and he's complaining to his manager because his manager is taking care of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no one for this guy to complain to.
Right.
His character is like he's
So
holding,
everything is dumped on him.
yeah, and he's holding all these strings together.
Right.
And how much that has an impact on him, they slowly reveal that over the course of the season.
Huh.
And the way he showed that, right? I don't know, dude. Anytime a character has to show pain or internal conflict or something like that, this guy just peaks like crazy.
Interesting.
Whereas Vinay Pathak is like everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how people can...
I also find Ranvir Shorey to be much more he has a little edge on Vinay Pathak in terms of character development. Like how Ranvir Shorey can create multiple facets to a character.
Oh, I don't know about that.
In terms of body language, in terms of the voice, in terms of all this, right?
Because Manorama 6 Feet Under, Vinay Pathak plays a town policeman who is kind of corrupt and kind of has shades of grey and all that.
No, I'm not saying like that. I'm
just saying the way he played that role is like, again, I think these two guys are just, they are funny together and they're really good actors together.
No, it's not a comparison.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's unfair to compare, I feel. But overall, you can't help but incline towards one guy, right? So for me, like, okay, it's basically for me, it was like if I saw
both, like both are in one same place.
I know. I don't know. For me, maybe because of how the duo worked also, right? How Ranvir Shorey and Vinay Pathak worked together.
Right.
I used to incline towards Ranvir Shorey because I felt I can probably do this, or probably I can also sell this. What Vinay Pathak did, right, for me was very difficult to even imagine.
Okay,
in that sense.
Okay, you're relating personally.
I relate more.
Okay.
It's like I relate to him more.
That's only
because
natural.
Vinay Pathak can do multiple characters with the same face or with the same body language.
Yeah.
Ranvir Shorey changes the whole getup, right? He changes his posture, how he walks or how he puts his face and all that, right? And I always found that easier to get into a character. I change the superficial things and automatically things happen.
Yeah,
but there are few actors, like Irfan Khan also is one of those guys who doesn't change much in terms of body language or the personality, but you still make out the difference.
Yeah.
I could never figure that out. Like, I seriously could. Paresh Rawal is another example of a guy who can get into the body of, like, he'll change his dialect, his voice, his how he dresses up and all that.
Yeah.
And you see that, if I can get all that, I can also pull it off. But with the Irfan Khan or like, Vinay Pathak, Om Puri.
Right.
Om Puri was another big example where he never changed his voice. He never changed his get-up per se. Nana Patekar.
Right.
But you still could make out this is such a different character than what he did in another movie or another movie. That for me is like top class act. Like I can't figure out how they do that. I mean, there are multiple examples, but I'm giving more generic examples which people can relate.
Yeah, of course. But what I noticed was there seemed to be two different kind of, not just two, but two of the different kinds of acting.
Yeah.
One is people act with their face and their emotions and their expressions and all that.
Right.
There are other people who act with their bodies.
Yeah.
And the face doesn't seem to twitch a lot, but the body
it's doing all kinds of things.
It's doing all kinds of things, and you kind of make out like, okay, how is this guy feeling? And they seem to project that out so strongly,
right?
That some people they do it so well, it's almost like shape shifting.
Yeah.
It's like he's changing their appearance and changing our perception of their usual appearance and demeanor through just their craft.
Another example in terms of leads. Of a similar thing, right? Govinda is one who's more like changes everything.
He changes.
Right? He can
subtly.
make those voice. He can make all that. And with a similar comic impact, Akshay Kumar acts with almost the same thing. Like you don't see a lot of change in Akshay Kumar physically, right?
Right.
But he makes these subtle changes in how he walks or how he talks or how he like gives his expressions and all. He can portray himself as the dumbest guy in the movie to probably the smartest guy in the movie in one go, right? That I find to be very tricky to do. Like, I don't know. Also, maybe because I've not acted as much as these guys.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But
even to understand how they go about it, I just can't wrap my head around.
That's what I've always thought, which is good acting is good acting. It's great.
Yeah.
But some people take it to the level where it almost looks like
it becomes elusive.
You're like a chameleon.
Yeah.
You just change in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
It's like I can't relate to you acting in front of camera and how you're behaving otherwise. I can never seem to connect that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how some people are that good. They act with their body. Ranvir Shorey, again, like pain, internal conflict, my God, that guy kills it. Mithya is, you really feel for the guy,
Yeah.
the protagonist. And
That's
really
why I
makes you
always
feel.
felt the actors who can make you hate them on screen
Oh, yeah.
are like the best actors.
Yeah, obviously.
Right?
Yeah, they should be the
Making
best.
people love them is easy, I feel. I mean, like, whichever way. Thing with Ranvir Shorey, or my way of why I have that inclination personally, is because when Ranvir Shorey played with the character in a more physical way, it made, for me, it was easier to understand how he's going about it. Right? Like in Bheja Fry, for example, he's the strict income tax officer, right? And but the thing is how he puts his chin in and kind of makes that whole persona that like he physically represents strictness, right? And he goes about his work, and then you see him Sacred Games, and you just see a completely different person in terms of the body language
But
itself.
remind me of the character in Secretary.
He is the guy who's carrying around the
2?
bomb.
Season 1 or
2?
2? Oh, I haven't watched 2.
Okay. So basically, he's like the brainchild of that whole bomb and all.
Okay.
And he's working for whosoever is the ringleader or whatever. Right. He's the execution man.
Okay, got it.
So, and he's just like this smoking, like chimney smoker.
Chain smoker.
Right. And he has his own family and he's doing it for the greater good. That's what he's brainwashed with.
Right.
And his job is like, no matter what happens, I'm going to execute this, right? It's almost no dialogues.
He has no dialogues.
No dialogues.
Okay.
Almost no. Probably about like in the whole season, probably he'll have 10 or 15 dialogues at the max.
That would suit him really well, actually.
Yeah. And you would not, like, if you knew the Ranvir Shorey of the sketch comedies he did, you would not see that.
Wow. I don't know where we started, but it feels like we ended.
Yeah. It's like there's a silence that hit upon us where we are like, okay, we have told all we can.
Yeah, so basically it's just that these guys, it's great to see them still in action. The 3 guys that we talked about.
Yep, and we hope they are in action for the longer time, way longer time.
Yeah, and I really hope exposure and, the decentralization of producing your own media or producing your own things, it gets more and more easier and cheaper. And so that this whole middleman stuff is out and all their, call it nepotism, call it this, call it that, whatever it is. But basically that whole nonsense.
No, see, the bottom line is this, guys.
That whole nonsense goes out the window soon. And, you have straight from artist, you have for the audience.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is this.
This thing hasn't really picked up yet. It's still in the
process.
Yeah. Podcasts in India, it's not really a thing yet. But hopefully we catch some of that early mover advantage.
Hopefully.
Some of that lather, some of that
froth.
Yeah.
Because guys, we just want to reiterate, we don't floss.
We don't floss.
Never. Saying that, bogus.
Yeah, that's
the most interesting segment. What is that?
The parcel section.
The parcel section. Take it at token 42 today.
What have you ordered today, Bogus? Sorry, Brut.
This is the height of narcissism that I've just experienced, where you addressed everybody in the room as you.
You think I'm looking at you, but actually I prefer to look at my own imaginary reflection.
I know.
Right next to you. And I'm kind of like, oh, this is better. This is a much better engagement.
When I realized that, I learned the art of seeing through you.
Oh, wow.
It's intense. And also, answering your primary question.
Yes.
I have bought an amazing parcel. Okay. It's a very uncanny one. And unfortunately, it's not well known. It's a cult. But it's not well known. Again, not commercially successful, but after it kind of got out of theaters, it became like a huge deal, and everybody has like started following it a lot, especially in US. The movie's name, it's a movie.
Okay.
The movie's name is Oscar. Okay. Now it was directed by John Landis, and the cast is Sylvester Stallone in the lead. There is Kirk Douglas, who has acted as his father,
Michael Douglas's father,
who acted as Sylvester Stallone's father in the movie.
Right.
And it's Marisa Tomei's first movie that she ever debut.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few other guys who I have to look up. I don't know, where is the list?
That's okay. You can just...
So the basic plot is very interesting, okay?
Right.
Firstly, the whole movie happens in one house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Sylvester Stallone, I'm giving you the premise. I'm not going to go into the details because I really want you guys to watch it. So Sylvester Stallone is this huge, big-ass Don, okay, who's running his own mafia and he's got like rivals and everything. And he's like the guy who's being chased by the police and the rivals are trying to kill him and so many things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie starts with he making a promise to his dad that he'll go straight. He'll leave all this.
Okay, for these times,
illegals.
You have to explain going straight. Yeah.
Going straight is he's going to stop all illegal activities.
Right.
And he's going to become a fair guy. Like he's going to become like an ethical guy and live his rest of the life by the rules.
Right.
And so now he's trying to figure out what has to be done. But the word doesn't go out yet that he's going straight.
Right.
Right. So his character name is Angelo Provolone.
Mm-hmm.
Snaps. Okay. Because he snaps for everything.
Right.
Right. So the scene is this. The whole premise is set in the 1930s or whatever. And the day starts and he's trying to go straight. So he's trying to put all his money in the bank and make a bank rich or become a banker of some sort or whatever. While the rival is trying to figure out why is there no activity from, Angelo Provolone or Snaps. And then the police is thinking they are like kind of stalking his house and trying to figure out what is happening in the house and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what actually is happening in the house is he's trying to figure out his domestic problems, right? So there's a guy who comes to his house and says like, I want to marry your daughter,
okay,
who is the accountant of this guy, right? So he gets all offended and like, you're an accountant. Why the fuck are you like, how can you even come and ask for my daughter's hand?
Mm-hmm.
And on the same note, he's trying to get ready for the banker conversation who are going to come later in the day.
Okay.
Right? So it's a beautiful concept of, comedy of errors,
mm-hmm,
right? All happens in one set. That is, Sylvester Stallone's home. And how it ends is also really funny. And just to no, I'm not going to reveal it.
mm-hmm.
But that's the story. Oscar is the name of the movie. It came in 1991, directed by John Landis. So search for Oscar. It's there on YouTube. You can check it out. You get the whole movie. It's a beautiful movie. If you have a good taste for, say, like a dry humor or like situational comedy, you should actually go check it out.
Awesome. Oscar,
guys.
Okay. So for my, what I'm getting today is a movie made in 1982 called Blade Runner.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh.
So it's been a while since I've watched this movie, so I don't remember all the details, but I'm going to give you what I remember, the effect this movie had. Hopefully that encourages you to go watch it, because in the whole sci-fi genre of movies, Blade Runner is considered to be one of the milestones, and it was very influential for many reasons that I'll get into. So the director of this movie was Ridley Scott. And if you know Ridley Scott, he's definitely one of the more visual filmmakers out there. And that you get to see when this movie opens on future 2020 Las Vegas. So, sorry, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles 2020.
That's what I was thinking.
So this movie was made in 82, so the future was like 2020. So it opens on a nighttime city, okay? Skyscape, and the city is glistening. It looks epic. It looks massive. And there's lights, small lights. It's just twinkling in the night. And there's huge structures, almost like pyramids, along the skyscape. And you open with that shot and you think, wow, this is the future. It looks so amazing. It just looks next level. And then the camera goes into the city to show you the details. So what you saw was just from a vantage point.
Yeah.
But when you got close to it, you're seeing skyscrapers, almost incredibly tall skyscrapers, and the whole face of the buildings are like ads are being projected onto the entire building's face, and it's like a giant screen now where you're seeing ads for Coke and all these things. So you get an idea of the culture. It is that capitalistic.
Yeah.
And when you go close to it, the buildings are almost all in decay. And there are no proper roads. It's all wet and grimy. And it is so congested and it is so cramped out that you see that people on the ground level are actually living like dogs. But then there's just huge buildings everywhere, right? Where totally different lifestyle is going on.
Right.
So this is the city that he opens with. And this is a time civilization where they got advanced enough to make AI robots.
Yeah.
And give them their own consciousness.
Yeah.
But eventually they start improving, evolving. And they get to a stage where they're considered to be a threat now. Like they may take over because these AI bots were doing things for human race, like traveling to far off planets like light years,
right,
and then coming back,
right,
and then giving
the
information and intelligence and all that stuff. So, and their experiences were so vast that they were evolving much faster than us.
Right.
They started becoming a threat.
Right.
So they used to, in their police force, they had a group of agents called replicants. And they called Blade Runners. The AI
you change the name of the movie only.
The AI robots are called replicants, and there are versions like version 6, version 7, version 9. So Harrison Ford, who is the hero in this movie, is a Blade Runner. His job is to hunt down these replicants,
right,
and so that they are not a threat to the human civilization,
right.
And basically, the people who made these replicants are like a billionaire, trillionaire kind of company called Tyrell Corporation. And the head of that guy, the CEO, he's like an old guy, but he's the mad genius who made this
created this whole stuff.
So he has his own narcissistic delusions where he's now like a god in his own eyes.
Right.
And so he's thinking about these concepts like, oh, I'm creating life. And so he's really lost his this thing. So
he's gone cuckoo.
And one of the replicants, the robots, is a guy who's the villain. And I forgot his name, but Rutger Hauer played this character. And he's such a brilliant guy. Like, he's completely evolved. He's been to places and he's done things that people can't even imagine.
Right.
And he can't come to terms with the fact that these people, when they were created, they were given very short lifespans.
Right.
Automatically, as a fail-safe, Tyrell Corporation limited their life when there was no reason for it to. And it was like 40, 45 or something, so that it's not threatening to humans.
Right.
And he, depending on the capability of himself, he was frustrated. Like he's seeing his death approaching in code.
Right.
Basically, he knows he's going to turn off.
Right.
So he wants to protest against that. So he's going to
form a mutiny against.
He escapes from prison or something like that, and then he is going to Tyrell Corporation to meet his maker,
right,
and have that conversation with his God.
Right.
Why did you limit my life?
Right.
What gives you the right?
Right.
So the whole movie revolves around the themes of what is a human being? What is your consciousness? What is your identity truly?
Right.
Are you your body? Or all those kinds of things.
Right.
And what does it mean to create life? And what does it mean to be in that situation?
Right. Have the power to
and can you really say that they are artificial and they are not natural? If they start self-evolving,
right, and
they start expressing their own, so what does that tell you about your place?
Right.
What does that tell you about you? And how can you say they are artificial and they don't have a soul, or can you say they don't have a soul? So these are the concepts that this movie trips around with, and it is so amazing. It is also because of the art design. They really designed the place to look like grungy and beautiful from far. The cinematography, Ridley Scott's imaginative because he does everything in storyboards.
Right.
So he's had the whole movie on paper before he even started shooting the first frame. So it is an amazing movie in terms of aesthetics, philosophy, sci-fi, and brilliant acting and the cyberpunk genre, which is that genre of movies.
Right.
And the other thing I would say is there are around 7 versions of this movie. So if anyone who's interested in watching this movie, I would say go for the director's cut. That's the best version. There is one director's cut that Ridley Scott himself cut, and that is the one you want to watch. And the other thing I want to say about this movie is it has, unarguably, for me at least, the best soundtrack ever for a movie. And the soundtrack for this movie was composed by a Greek composer.
Is that your ringtone?
No.
Then it's not like the best soundtrack. If it is the best soundtrack, you gotta make it your ringtone.
No, but it's not like a peppy thing that it just in 15 seconds you get the whole thing. It's just slow, like it's a synth wave kind of thing. It builds up intensity.
No, I don't care the reason. It's not your ringtone, not the best soundtrack.
Yeah, you can't use that practically for a ringtone. It's just like saying have a Pink Floyd song for a ringtone. It doesn't make sense.
You can.
No.
We don't need no education. That part you can cut and keep.
No, I mean that's not the whole experience of it.
Lazy bogus, that's what you are. Huh. Okay. Come on.
So basically this guy Vangelis, he was a composer. He is a composer, Greek composer. But he composed this whole thing by himself. And it is synth sounds. It is very futuristic. But the whole soundtrack, man, the way he worked with it. And musically, I feel this guy is close to Ilayaraja.
Oh.
In the sense that...
It's a strong claim.
Yeah. In the sense that when, let's say, the musical area that Ilayaraja touches, obviously is distinct. Like not many people go there, right? He has his own thing, his own place. So I feel like Vangelis is a guy from, like a brother from another mother, whose creativity or musical sense is kind of, it goes to the same place or the same general area as Ilayaraja.
Right.
And so for me, that's why I just consider
I've got a question.
One of the best.
Do you even watch these movies or you just keep reading about what's happening in the background?
No, I watch them, yeah.
Oh, but so at what point do you start reading about this unnecessary information?
So this was what I did in my entire engineering, basically. Watch a movie, read upon it or research it, then watch a movie, read upon it, research it. That's all I was doing. So I find it very interesting. But yeah, guys, there is a YouTube clip which is the whole soundtrack start to finish for Blade Runner. It's easy to find.
You can find it in the description of this podcast.
Yeah, we'll add it. But I'm telling you guys, the movie has to be watched for so many things. It is the visuals, it is the sound, the music, the
if not anything else, guys,
and the philosophy.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. And most importantly, the fact that you put yourself through this whole description of the movie, please go watch it. Please.
Yeah, I mean, now you have to. Like, what's the point of hearing this much and not watching it?
Yeah, please just go. In fact, don't even come till this point. Just the moment he says the name of the movie, go watch it. Watch it immediately. So, Bogus, that was amazing. That's the end of the 8th episode, guys. This is the ThyGap podcast. Subscribe.
And share. Hey, thanks for listening. You can follow this podcast on Spotify to get notified of new episodes every Thursday. We're also on Apple Podcasts for those of you who have partaken in the forbidden fruit. If you liked what you heard, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. Say anything like the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. A rating and a comment really helps us out. It's free, and I'm told that's a great price. But enough about us, huh? Tell us about yourself. Leave us a comment. Our Twitter is @ThyGap, and we are _ThyGap on Instagram.